The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we are webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. It's Monday and it's a very exciting day around here. I can tell you I'm a little nervous and excited in the best possible way because we have two amazing guests that are going to be joining us later on today. And I'm excited to have both of these women on the show via Skype because they are amazing women and mothers who are very forward thinking and do a great deal for the members of our community to help with problem solving. More about that in just a little while. But I want to start out by welcoming you to the show and reminding you that this entire program is meant to be interactive. We're going to be with you live for the next 2 hours talking about autism from a global perspective, 360-degree view, all the things that we will encounter when we're either traveling this journey as a person who's on the autism spectrum or a parent who is traveling this with a child, whether you're a teacher, practitioner, whatever your role is in this community, there are a lot of different aspects to autism, right? There are different, more debilitating aspects of the disorder that we need to help people to overcome. And there are financial and emotional aspects of this, as well as how this affects your job placement and what you eat, how you put food on the table, how you eat it, how you're paying the bills, right? So we talk about all of those things and more. And we so encourage your input into this show. The whole reason why we're here is to be able to further the conversation and hopefully hook you up with some information that will help you in whatever way you're making this journey. So Emily's going to cycle through some of the different ways that you can get a hold of us here. While she does that, I want to remind all of you that there's only one place to watch us live right now, and that is www.autism-live.com. When you go to our website, you will see this lovely desktop, so much neater than my actual desktop, right? But there's a box there that says questions we're answering right now. If you put your cursor there while we're live, and we are live right now, you can type in whatever you would like, hit enter, and it shows up magically right here on my screen. And you and I have, and I already see somebody has written in a question for our first guest. So thrilled about that. And I'll make sure to ask her that question. So hit enter and it shows up magically here on the screen. There is no cost. There is no login. We're not asking for your credit card number or your personal information. We don't even get to know your name. I will tell you that if you want us to get back to you on something in the live feature and you put something personal information in there, I have the ability to screen it out before I let the rest of the viewers see it. So if you want to respond with an email, I can take that out. All right. Also want to remind all of you that while I host this show, I am not an expert in autism. I am not an expert in nutrition or in legal matters, although we're having people who are today. But I am a parent. My son was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5. He's now 9.5 and doing very well, all thanks to the fact that I got good information from wonderful people. So my role here is to be the switchboard. I want to hook you up to the answers, but I am not the expert, and I always like to remind everyone of that. Okay, without further ado, we always start with the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym, and try to figure out what this word means and what it means in relation to our journey through autism. So our term this morning, we have some new terms that we're cycling through this week, some that I am less familiar with, and maybe you are as well. Maybe we can shed a little light. We have to make friends with the terms, right? All right, so our term today is dyskinesia. This may be a new term to you. It was fairly new to me, but a parent brought this up and said, I want to understand because somebody mentioned this as a possibility and I want to know what it is exactly we're talking about. So all this week we're doing the disses, dyskinesia today. Let's take a look at what our actual definition is. Dyskinesia is an impairment in the ability to control movements characterized by spasmodic or repetitive motions or a lack of coordination. All right, and our working definition, so that we can begin less exact, but so that we can begin to understand the context in which we might be hearing these things. Let's take a look. Involuntary movements or tics that may resemble but are not related to stereotypy. So I want to go back to the first slide that we had here. Impairment in the ability to control movements characterized by spasmodic or repetitive motions or lack of coordination. When we look at the autism spectrum, the DSM for the diagnosis, we know that there is those repetitive and restrictive behaviors. There's that category of the diagnosis, and that sometimes our kids will engage in repetitive motions, hand flapping, or even something that looks like a tic. And it's really important, from what I've been explained about this, that sometimes we will hear an expert talking about dyskinesia, which is very different, because in dyskinesia, it is absolutely involuntary. It is a behavior that is happening because there is a connection to the brain that is causing this thing to happen. So where on the autism spectrum, where we see these repetitive motions, it's a behavior that has arisen because it is fulfilling a specific need for the child. That's when we're talking about stereotypy. That even though it may be something that we can't automatically tell because it's automatically reinforcing, there's something about the motion that is giving our child some sort of payoff. When we talk about the hand flapping, for some children, it's visually stimulating. I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity in your house, but once upon a time, I did this to go, why is my kid doing this? It's visually stimulating, and there's something, I don't know, for me, that was calming about it. I think for each one of our kids, it's a different thing. But if we find a replacement that does the same thing for this behavior, we will see that the behavior diminishes or goes away. That is not the case with dyskinesia. This is something that's absolutely involuntary. So a really important distinction to make. I can remember so many times after my child was being diagnosed, I was saying, okay, is this something that he has control over? And it's a choice that he's making because there is some sort of payoff, or is it something that he doesn't have control over? And that's the distinction we need to make with dyskinesia. No control over it, whereas when it's stereotypy, it may be something that at the moment the child doesn't have control over, but it's being made for, the choice to do it is being made for a very specific reason. It may not be clear what the reason is, but that is the difference between the two. So very important distinction to be made when an expert is talking to you, and if they're using this term to specify and say, okay, wait a minute, because dyskinesia is not a part of the autism spectrum diagnosis. Very important to know. And it has very specific methods of treatment for it that are different from those repetitive and restrictive things that we term stereotypy. All right. We always like to start every morning with a question of the day. And our question today is all about that problem-solving thing that we're talking about. What's the biggest problem your family is currently facing? Now, we encourage you to answer this question on our Facebook page. You can also answer it on the Center for Autism and Related Disorders Facebook page, or you can use any of the different methods that we showed you just a few minutes ago to interact. We'll check in a little bit later to see what kinds of things you guys are reporting. I always like to remind you guys how important it is, not only for ourselves to answer these questions, to be able to say, okay, that is the biggest thing that's going on right now. You know, sometimes you don't think about it. You go, okay, no, really the biggest problem we're facing right now is X. Oh, and then you can start to deal with it, right? But I also think there's a larger purpose to answering the question of the day. When you answer this question, it helps all the other families who see the question to understand they're not alone, that there are other people who are going through the same thing that they are, or going through something that's even more difficult. And sometimes when you answer the question and say, here's what we're going through, somebody else looks at it and says, oh, we've never encountered that before. But when it happens in their life, maybe a year or 2 years down the road, it's a little bit easier. I'm thinking about all of you who have teenagers, and my son's 9.5. And I see some of the things that you guys write, and I know I'm not there, but I also feel a little bit better prepared. I don't know, maybe I'm kidding myself, but I feel like you're helping me to get more aware so that when those things start to crop up, it's not going to be a shock to my system. And maybe I'm going to get myself a little bit ahead of the game, we'll hope, right? But you're answering the question of the day sometimes has huge ripple effects. I always say, sometimes I don't even know what question to ask. And then I'll see what question somebody else is asking, and I go, oh, okay, I didn't even know that was something having to do with this. Now I have a new question to ask. So it really is informative. So go ahead, answer the question of the day, and we will find some time a little later on the program to check in with the kinds of things that you guys wrote about. Now, we always have a topic of the week, something that we focus on. Our topic this week, if you couldn't guess it already, is problem solving. And we have started on this show focusing on a specific organization every week and doing a little bit of feature with them every day. This week, our specified organization, our organization that we really want to give a lot of light and energy to, is the Special Needs Network. And so joining us a little bit later on will be Areva Martina, who is the president and co-founder of the Special Needs Network. And we're interested in hearing from her some of the really exciting things that they have going on in the next couple of months. But also, I mentioned we have 2 guests on the show today. We are also going to be joined in just a few minutes by Julie Matthews. I've been talking about this for several weeks. Very excited that she's going to be here today. It's her first time on the show, and you guys have already started writing in questions, and I'm so thrilled. Julie is an amazing certified nutrition consultant, and she's also an author, a mom, and an advocate, and you may have seen her book, Nourishing Hope. Really a tremendous amount of information about how diet can be used to create better things happening in our children's environment and to reduce things that are preventing them from making the progress that we know that they can make. So very excited to have Julie Matthews here in just a few minutes. And in between all of these different things, we'll continue with some of our typical features that we have on the show, including our stress tip of the week. So all of that and more coming up. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by the fabulous Julie Matthews. Keep the questions coming in because we're going to find some time to ask Julie these questions. Stick with us.
Welcome back. For the month of February, I thought it'd be a great idea to work on an activity that would help your kiddos identify and label emotions. And to help me out today is my good friend, Jamie.
Hey, Suzanne.
Hey there, Jamie.
Hey, how can I help?
Well, the way you can help me out is that because you're a sock puppet, you can do things with your face that I cannot do.
No way.
Totally. The way you can do it is that, you have interchangeable features, which means you can make super exaggerated faces, which makes it easier for kiddos to identify them and to label them.
Uh-huh.
Hey, I have a favor to ask you.
Yeah?
Can you help us out and show us some of your faces you can make?
Of course! Here we go!
Ooh, you look super mad.
I was super mad.
Can you show us another one?
Sure.
Ooh, you look super sad.
I was super sad.
All right, can you show us one more?
One more.
All right. You look super excited.
I was super excited.
I am too. You know why? Because I really want to show everyone how to make a little buddy like you. So let's get started. The materials you'll be needing are googly eyes, felt, a hot glue gun, imagination, scissors, Velcro, some heavy cardstock, and a clean sock. All right, let's get to it. So the first thing you want to do is you're going to grab your sock. Hopefully it's not dirty and used. It's a clean one. And what you're going to do is that you're going to take your sock, fold it in half like so, and then you're going to take your scissors and cut down. The reason we're doing this is that we're gonna make an area for the mouth. The next thing you wanna do is you wanna trim the inside a little bit, because if you don't, it's gonna have an overbite. So I'm just gonna take my scissors and just trim a little bit off, not much. Now that this guy is ready, I'm gonna take a hard cardstock or note card or whatever you have that's a piece of paper. I'm gonna fold it in half. And what I'm gonna do with this is gonna be the inside of its mouth, the kind of reinforcement so you're able to move its mouth around. So I'm gonna just cut it into an oval. And don't worry, if it's a little too big, you can always trim it. With this sock puppet project, the materials we'll be using, like the hot glue, is not something for children. So this is something you're gonna be doing by yourself and then asking your child to join in once the puppet is ready to go. All right, now that I got that out of the way, let's start gluing. I'm gonna take my hot glue gun and I'm going to glue it on the paper. Okay, once I have that, I'm gonna put that in the inside of its mouth, and then I'm gonna take the sock and then pull it over the edge and cover it the glue. All right, so now that I have the bottom part done, I'm gonna do the same thing to the top. So now that we have this part assembled, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a piece of felt and we're gonna cover this area so you don't see all the scraggly stuff. So I have my piece of felt right here. I'm gonna fold it in half and I'm just gonna cut out a similar oval shape. And again, don't worry, if it's too big, you can always trim it after we glue it on. I'm gonna glue it inside. All right, now we got pretty much the base of the sock puppet. He's got a moving mouth, but wait, he's got no features. We gotta help him out with that. So what I'm gonna do is I have these pieces of Velcro that I bought that are already sticky on the back, which makes my life a lot easier. And I'm gonna peel this off and place it where I want his eyes. So one there and one there. And then I'm also gonna put them also along his mouth. And then if you want to get fancy, you can put some for his eyebrows as well. So now that I have this, we should be making some features for him. I'm alive! Alive! I had a great time with my buddy Jamie, and I hope you did too. Until next time, bye!
Bye! And don't forget to send us your photos at facebook.com/autismlive.
Can you see me? Can you see me flying by your side?
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod, and we're going to be joined in just a couple of seconds here by Julie Matthews from Nourishing Hope. So excited to have her here on the show. I want to remind all of you, and some of you are already taking advantage of it, that if you have a question that you would like for me to ask Julie while we're talking to her, then you can do that on our live desktop. Go to www.autism-live.com. If you're already there, there is a box, and put your cursor there. There is no login. I have to say I love this. You know, there are so many sites where you go and you say, oh yes, I want that information, and then you have to fill out this lengthy login. You don't have to do any of that. Just put your cursor there and type, hit enter, and it comes up magically on my screen. Some of you are already doing that. I will tell you, if you're watching a previously taped version, if you're seeing this later on and you're thinking, oh no, I missed the opportunity, we always, stay in contact with our guests, so send the question later and we will forward it along. But right now we are joined by the fabulous Julie Matthews from Nourishing Hope. Julie, are you there?
I'm here.
There she is. I cannot hear her though. I don't know if any. Now say something else, Julie.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Hello. Shannon's on the line here. Is that who I'm with?
I'm so excited to have you here with us, Julie. I have been a big fan for a long time, and I'm one of those moms who attends your webinars and listens in to hear your wisdom. And I'm so thrilled that we can introduce you to our audience who watches our show. But I want to start out by having you tell them a little bit about who you are and how Nourishing Hope came to be.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Julie Matthews. I'm a certified nutrition consultant, and I've been working with kids with autism and on the autism spectrum pretty much since the beginning of my career, even in my early nutrition studies. So I was just very intrigued by the state of our nutrition today and how poor it was and how many additives and things that we had. And so I started studying really early on about ADHD and autism, and then found out actually there's things you can do about it, and there's ways that you can help them actually get better and even recover. And when I learned that there were things out there that most people didn't know about, that was pretty much all I needed to spend pretty much all my waking hours learning and studying and researching and helping families.
And you have a practice that's entitled Nourishing Hope, is that correct?
That's correct.
But you also, you're a speaker and you speak all over the world, and you're an author, and your book is Nourishing Hope as well. And let's start out by telling people that if they want to find out more, they can go to nourishinghope.com. But we also are putting on our Facebook right now, there's a link that people can go to that will take them to a free newsletter that you do that's full of great information. So if people want to go, you can go on our Facebook right now, and there's a link to get to the place where you sign in to get the free newsletter from Julie. But Julie, I want to know about, this is going to sound like a bizarre question, how does a young woman, when you were a teenager, were you sitting there saying, oh, I can't wait to become a nutritionist, and I specifically am interested in how nutrition affects kids on the autism spectrum? How did it actually come about?
Yeah, well, I actually wasn't a teenager, thank you though. I had actually been in the corporate world and knew that that's not what was, I don't know, wasn't fulfilling in any way. And so I decided that I wanted to go learn a modality that I thought could have an underlying impact on a whole variety of disorders. So that's how I started. And you know, you're right. I didn't have kids for another almost 10 years, and actually probably longer than that now that I think about it. And I guess I was just compelled, you know, when you see the suffering going on and when you see how profound something simple like diet and nutrition can be, yeah. I pretty much was hooked. I felt like there needed to be somebody to champion this message and somebody to share the stories of these families. And I don't know, call it my personality or what have you. That was pretty much all I needed. And from there on out, I want, you know, the more you learn, the more you help, the more inspiring it becomes.
Absolutely. I notice in my life that there seems to be three types of people. And help me to see if you also encounter this within your practice and in all the things that you do. There seems to be people who say, I really think that what I put into my body has an effect on how I behave and how I think and how productive I am. Then there are people that they're sort of in the middle, the jury is kind of out, they're not sure, they don't really want to change what they're eating, but they think maybe what they eat has an effect on their lives, not to mention their kids' lives. And then there's a group of people who just really don't think that how you eat and what you eat affects how you think and how you move through the world. And I don't understand that group of people. They mystify me. Do you notice that there are people who, and what do you say to those people who think that what you eat and how you eat does not affect how you think?
Yes, it's a really interesting one. I didn't think of the groups in that way, but yeah, absolutely. And really, I spend lots of my time preaching to the choir, because those are the people super excited. But as you know, that's not, you know, they're already bought on. So then there's the middle group, and that's probably my favorite group. The people that they're looking for solutions, they're looking for answers, they understand there's probably something to this, and that's probably my favorite group to help. And then there's the third group, and you know, it's a hard one. As you said, it's not really a thought process that I engage in, so it's really hard to understand. And I'm there for all those people, but you know what? I really don't try to convince them, because in the end, they need some curiosity. So I usually help people once they have a curiosity and they're asking questions. The really frustrating thing can be when you have a family member or somebody else you know in your life that just is in that third group you mentioned, and the people you really want to help and convince. And I've just learned that, you know, I let them know some information, you know, and then if they want to know more, then I wait for them to ask me.
And that's probably a good plan. Julie, I want to start to, we're going to take a break in just a second, but I want to start to get into some nuts and bolts, because you see on a daily basis that by changing maybe something small, maybe something a little bit bigger, what a child eats and how they take it in and how they get nutrients can make a difference. What kinds of things? Give me like one example of how it can change a child's progress.
Well, if you know, for instance, if you change wheat or you change dairy and you remove those, sometimes they're creating opiates or other things that can really affect attention and focus and behavior. And sometimes it can be incredibly profound, from a child that's never spoken words before and having language in a few months to having first conversational language back and forth to getting rid of some of the pain and suffering they have from digestive issues and things. So that's just kind of, I guess, one example and some of the potential outcomes.
Okay, and we are going to take a break, but we are going to talk to Julie when we come back, because there are so many things, there are so many diets, and sometimes people are overwhelmed by what do I do, how do I do it, how does this affect my life, what are the nuts and bolts, how do I actually get down to the brass tacks of feeding my child if I'm taking all these things into consideration. And Julie is really a whiz at making this practical for a family so that your whole life isn't turned upside down. We're going to take a break and come back more with Julie Matthews from Nourishing Hope after these messages.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is a visionary in the field of autism, and now you get to ask her questions every Wednesday at 10 a.m. on Ask Dr. Doreen. Welcome back. Our very special guest right now is Julie Matthews from Nourishing Hope. She is a certified nutrition consultant, a wonderful advocate for autism parents, and the expert of note when it comes to dietary issues and treating children on the autism spectrum. And I mentioned that before the break that we were going to come back and ask Julie to give us an overview of the kinds of things, the choices that a family can make that really could change a child's progress. But actually, as I'm looking at one of our questions that somebody has written in on the live feature, Julie, it seems to be the question to start out with. And it is, does the science support changing diet for kids with autism? Should we start with that?
Let's start with that. That's a great question.
Isn't it?
Correct. Science. I really made sure that I put several hundred studies in my book because I thought it was really important that people could see the science behind what we already know about autism, the biochemistry, the diets, how they work, when they help. And absolutely, we can take those individually. In fact, I'm putting together some research right now for a webinar I'm doing this week. Let's just take gluten-free and casein-free. There are, boy, I want to say 8 studies that I can think of, everything from looking at the opiates in the urine, looking to how gluten and casein-free affect digestive symptoms for people with autism, how they affect autistic symptoms for people with autism, and how helpful and effective the diet can be. And so there is a lot of really good information and evidence about that diet. There's more that we're learning every day. There's a study that I'm involved with that we're doing right now on gluten and casein free. So that topic has been and continues to be studied. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I think it's so important to note that my child has been GFCF for a very long time, and I talk about on the show what a tremendous change I saw in my child. And we did it in shifts because I didn't know what I was doing. First we went GF, and my child began speaking. And then we added the CF, and the behavior changes was absolutely amazing. We do know that not every child gets that big of a bang, but I, for one, really think it's worth it to investigate it and to try it. But I hear from a lot of parents that it's overwhelming and that it's hard to do, and you are the queen of making it possible so that families can try this without it being a huge headache. So should we transition to talking about that a little bit, about what advice you give to families if they are going to try a dietary intervention?
Sure. So I think to start, maybe the message I'd like to share is that, you can do it however it's going to work for you. So in other words, I don't have a dogmatic approach. I know in a perfect world it'd be great if you radically changed everything overnight, but you know, that's not very easy for kids with kids in general or kids with autism. So I often will suggest start where you are, start with the foods your child already likes, and then find substitutes that are equivalent to those. So in other words, if they like chicken nuggets, find a gluten-free chicken nugget, or they like pancakes, find a gluten-free pancake, or pasta, gluten-free pasta. And you'd be surprised that for the most part, for most of the time, they will accept those substitutes or substitutions pretty easily for the most part. And then it can help you just little by little make the diet more healthy, take the sugar out as you go, those kinds of things. But it is overwhelming a lot of the times because very often children will eat nothing but wheat and dairy or gluten and dairy containing foods. And so a parent understandably will feel overwhelmed. If my child only eats these foods and now you want me to take out the only foods they eat, that seems like an impossible task. But I like to say that a lot of times the reasons that they only eat those few foods is often because they are getting that opiate response from them. And as we know, morphine and heroin, they're very addictive compounds. So if a child is creating those opiate type compounds, you could see how they would self-select into a very narrow range of foods, that gluten foods and dairy foods. So I'll ask you this question. A lot of people tell me that once they take out those foods, then their child not only accepts the gluten-free and dairy-free versions, but even sometimes will expand and start adding vegetables or more protein or other healthy foods as well, because they're getting past that addictive cycle. What did you find?
Absolutely. You're speaking the truth. I kind of want to say hallelujah, because I will tell you that it was hearing you speak at an event, and you said the foods that your child is obsessed with, it's a little bit of a, you know, I want to paraphrase a little bit, but you said it's a wake-up call that if your child is only wanting that food, it may mean that that food is a problem. And that really caused me to start to think. And when we removed some of those things, because at that moment in time, we'd already been CF, but he was living on potatoes. And that was all he wanted to eat. And I thought, ooh, I heard what you said, and we took the potatoes out. And as soon as we took the potatoes out for him, he ate vegetables, and he was eating such a wide array. People would comment when they would see him eat and say, oh my goodness, how do you get your child to eat so healthily? And it was a big, big wake-up call for me, because it seems counterintuitive. I'm taking away the thing that he loves, but as soon as I took that away, he ate all these, he ate the rainbow. And,
wow.
And it was a big, big difference.
Amazing.
Yes.
Love to hear that.
Yes. So I thank you, because it was you saying that, and it made that click in my head. I went, oh, this might be a problem. And I hadn't thought of it in that way, because we were GFCF and I wasn't looking at all the other things, wasn't looking at the potatoes.
Right. A lot of times that, like you said, it's counterintuitive. The things that we crave can sometimes be the things that we have the biggest problem with, because there's some biochemical, you know, feedback mechanism or something going on, some reason that we're often craving those, and that reason is often because we're not tolerating them.
Yeah, I really hadn't gotten that until I heard you explain that. But absolutely. So if anybody's worried, and I can remember before we went GFCF that my child was living on macaroni and cheese, and I thought, oh, how are we going to do this? But we survived. He's been gluten and casein free for over 7 years, and he eats a very healthy diet.
Wow, wonderful.
Well, all part and parcel thanks to you. So, and we're getting a lot more questions, and I sort of feel bad that I think probably we should start to answer some of the questions. But I also, just to finish off this topic though, for parents who are looking for support and saying, all right, you've talked me into it, maybe I want to try a dietary intervention. There are lots of different diets out there. Where do you tell parents to start, or is it very child specific?
Well, it is child specific. There's a couple things they can do. Firstly is to get educated on the different diets, the common symptoms that are associated with the foods that are removed on the diets. And a nice simple place to actually start to learn about this is that when they do sign up for my newsletter, they'll get a free parent's guide where I put together about 5 different articles, and one of the articles goes into all the different diets and helps to give parents a little bit of a heads up. So anyway, they'll get that, and that might start them on learning about some of these things. It's unique for each child, but I think there's some things that are pretty problematic for everyone. And the first one is artificial additives and ingredients. So getting rid of those artificial colors, flavors, preservatives, all of that is something I think that no child benefits from, and eating them and getting rid of them can make a profound difference. That I think that's something that across the board I think is a great thing to do for everybody. Also, gluten and dairy free. Gluten and dairy seem to be two of the biggest offenders a lot of the time. So a lot of times people will look towards that diet as one of the first approaches. But again, everybody's different. Some people have a lot of digestive conditions and inflammatory conditions and things, and they might choose a different diet to start with and to proceed and evolve to.
Okay, all great advice. But again, we want to remind you, if you want to sign up for that newsletter, we have a link on our Facebook. Right now, you can go there, click the link. It will take you directly to the page where you can sign up to get Julie's free newsletter from Nourishing Hope. All right, we're going to take another short break, and when we come back, we're going to delve into your questions because they're too good. I'm learning from your questions already. I can't wait to hear what Julie says to them. Stick with us. We're going to be right back. More with Julie Matthews from Nourishing Hope.
Autism used to affect 1 in every 10,000 children. Now it affects 1 in every 91 kids.
TACA is one of 5 organizations helping families living with autism today.
Our kids came back to life. There's a whole community out there, and now we're a part of it.
Oh, TACA has a place for me.
To find TACA, go to www.tacanow.org.
Please.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Our very special guest right now is Julie Matthews from Nourishing Hope. She is a certified nutrition consultant, and she is also the author of the book Nourishing Hope, and an amazing, amazing resource, really the expert in the field of diet for autism as far as I'm concerned and as far as a lot of other people are concerned. A fabulous resource. She does a lot of speaking around the country and seminars and webinars. You mentioned, Julie, you have a webinar coming up later on this week or next week. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I am just this year started a new Nourishing Hope support club that I had been wanting to do for a number of years now. It just took me a long time to get the technology and all the pieces together, but I'm really excited. Last month we did supplements. This month we're going to talk about the gut and gut health and the different diets. I always try to include science, some references, as well as actionable things that parents can start to learn about, research, and look to consider taking action on. And so every month we do a new topic. And so if they go to my website and they just look for the support club, they can get more information on that. And it's been really fun. It's a lot of Q&A and opportunities for parents to engage.
Absolutely. Speaking of opportunity for parents to engage, we have some questions that viewers have been writing in. So we're going to delve right in with, how do we tell if oxalates are an issue or yeast is causing high oxalates? And for those of us who are catching up, tell us a little bit about the oxalate issue.
Sure, there was a study done in 2011, and it was on oxalates for children with autism, and they found a 2.5 to 3-fold increase in oxalates in the plasma and in the urine of children with autism, which they were in some ways very surprised to find the levels that high. They found them fairly consistent with a genetic condition called primary hyperoxaluria, and the health implications of that are pretty significant. So when they realized the levels were up to that point, I think there's a ton of new research that needs to be done. Oxalates are what you normally think of as the sharp crystals that create painful kidney stones, but they also, when they're unbound, they can actually get into the cell. They get transported on the sulfate transporter into the cell and now affect the mitochondria, affect various aspects of energy regulation and fatigue and all sorts of things. So I think it's a really important topic. It can also create a lot of oxidative stress and inflammation. It can affect the gut. And people say that when they, if they have an issue with oxalates, when they're dumping oxalate, they often will get yeast flares. And so there's some connection that we're still figuring out between oxalates and yeast. We know that certain strains of yeast can actually produce oxalate. We know that good bacteria can help break down oxalate. So I think there's a lot of connections. We're still learning some of the science. It's very dynamic as we go, but the study done really shows us what I've been seeing, which is that the principles, it's not just a diet, but it's also a principle of certain supplements and things that can help the body process the oxalate better.
And so how would you know if a child has high oxalates and could benefit from a low oxalate diet?
Yes. So again, this is an area that I'm sure we'll learn more and more as time goes by. But right now there is a urine test that can be done.
Okay.
By their doctor that can tell you if you're dumping oxalate in your urine. And if you are, then that's something to dig further on and see what might be behind that and how you might want to address it. The thing is, though, that people don't always dump oxalate continuously. It can kind of come in cycles. So we're still trying to figure out if your value is super, super low, what does that mean? So, but if your number is high, then that usually indicates that something's going on where the oxalates aren't being regulated, whether they're being consumed from the outside, whether they are being generated internally. That's going to be a person-by-person basis.
Okay. And then in terms of the yeast, because this is an issue that we've had opportunity to talk about a little bit on the show, what do you recommend to determine if a child has yeast issues? Is there a medical test? Are you really looking at behaviors? What kinds of things do you look at for yeast?
Yeah, well, what I usually do is try to help parents find patterns. So if they've gone to their doctor and they have a test that says they have yeast, I think it's helpful to kind of look at what those symptoms are, because often they're consistent, and parents will tell me that when yeast comes back, they'll often get these kind of consistent symptoms. And that usually tells them, ooh, I think yeast might be up. Let's go back to the doctor. Let's get a diagnosis. Let's do some testing, find out if we are dealing with yeast again, and then addressing it appropriately with the doctor.
Fabulous. Okay, I want to move on to the next question here. Do you advise salicylate intolerant clients to also avoid using topical products that contain salicylate, such as soap, shampoo, and toothpaste? I will be honest. See, this is one of those examples I always say, ask questions because the rest of us learn from the question. I did not know that salicylates were in soap, shampoo, and toothpaste. This is news to me.
Okay. Yeah, so I do have clients that can be very sensitive to that. So mint, for example, particularly wintergreen, but all mint is high salicylate. So lots of times toothpaste can be an issue. There are also some body soaps and scrubs that are used for acne that can intentionally have some of these salicylic acid type of compounds in them. So it is important to always, I always say, if you're putting something on your skin, expect that it's going to absorb. And if you wouldn't consider eating it, then you might want to be a little bit cautious about whether you want to put it on your skin and whether that makes sense or not. Because your skin does absorb compounds directly that way.
Julie, I love the kinds of things that you say, but I kind of want to, as a fan, I want to follow you around. I want to come to your house and see what you use. You're a mom, and people are always talking about those creams and things to put on your skin. Is it inappropriate? Can I ask you, what kind of cream do you use in your house? Because I have looked at everything, and for one reason or other, I reject everything.
Yeah.
But so, is it okay to ask you? You can say no.
Sure. I'm pretty open to most things. There's not much okay, so I'm a bit crazy in some ways that we don't live in a very dry place, so we don't actually need lotion very often. I never put lotion on my daughter. She's never needed it. Occasionally, I put a little coconut oil on her if she has a need for something, dry patch or whatever it is. And for myself, I try not to use too many harsh soaps so I don't have to use too many moisturizing cleansers. So, for myself, I just have the type of skin I don't really need to use a lot of that stuff. So I try to just use a little bit of water and then the least amount of you know, or the least harmful nourishing cream that I can. And occasionally I'll use something more on the natural side, and then sometimes I don't use anything, and sometimes I use some food-based thing like coconut oil.
Okay, coconut oil, a very interesting thing. All right, another question here that we've got that really gets to the nuts and bolts of how to make this work, a dietary intervention. The person says, I'm trying to remove dairy, but my child loves quesadillas and immediately hated the fake cheese I tried. I'm also having trouble replacing ranch dressing. Suggestions. They want suggestions.
Yes, okay. I'll take the easy one first. Ranch dressing. In my Cooking to Heal cookbook and cooking course, I have a dairy-free, soy, and gluten-free ranch dressing. So that's number one. You can make your own, and that can be a nice way for them to still have that dipping sauce that I'm going to guess encourages hopefully some vegetable eating or some other things like that. The first one was the quesadilla. Okay. There are certain limitations of what the substitutes can do. So in other words, if you're trying to make a food that has a little bit of, let's say, dairy-free cheese, like let's say a little pizza where maybe there's a gluten-free crust, maybe there's a little bit of sauce, maybe there's even some gluten-free pepperoni and stuff, you might not need to sprinkle that much cheese in order to get the sense that it's a cheese pizza. Whereas when you're doing a quesadilla, it's pretty much all about the cheese, the way that it melts. It's pretty thick. It's the primary ingredient. That is going to be a hard sell, because I find that the cheese works better kind of as a garnish or a side accompaniment. It might work as a little bit of cheese on a cheeseburger, or it might work with a pizza. But if I were going to say, okay, here, take this block of dairy-free cheese and eat it like you love your block of Gouda, not to work that way. So that might mean that they might, in some cases, they might choose to just get rid of that particular option, since it's very difficult to make an appropriate substitute. And you might have to choose some of the other foods that they like and use the substitutes on those.
I think that's a great piece of advice, because sometimes we get so into replacing and it isn't always going to be possible. So absolutely. We've got another question here, though, about rice milk. I want to bring this up on the screen for everybody. Can rice milk cause a problem because of sugars? It was originally recommended by a Dan doctor, but same has probably damaged teeth. So it sounds like we've got a child who's had a lot of cavities, and they're wanting to know if rice milk could potentially be causing that because of sugars.
Right, right. Well, whether it's the cause of the dental thing is hard for me to say, because there's so many reasons that you get cavities. You know, you have to have enough mineralization of your teeth and all sorts of things. So, I mean, there could be a nutritional aspect.
Oh, we're having a little technical difficulty there with Julie. Hopefully, yeah, sometimes Skype does that, but hopefully she's going to refresh. I'll tell you what, let's go for a brief break here, and when we come back, we still have more questions that I want to cover. So stick with us. More with Julie Matthews after this. Hi, we're here with Temple Grandin, and we're going to be asking her some of your questions that you guys have written into us. First of all, Temple, I want to thank you for being with us here today.
No, it's good to be here.
This is a question that I want to know. When you went to the Emmys and you went to all these different events and you were there in your wonderful shirt, was there anybody who tried to talk you into wearing something else, or did they just understand that you needed to be who you were?
Well, I think being eccentric is just fine. I dressed eccentric at the Emmys. Eccentric's fine. Being a filthy slob is not fine. Let's look at the latest Mars rover. You got the Mohawk guy that's the head of the expedition. You got the Elvis guy that figured out how to land on the moon, and he wears Elvis outfits. I think that's just fine. But you can't be a rude, filthy, dirty slob. That's the thing where draw the line. Eccentric's fine. I remember a guy who was on the spectrum, and he taught astronomy at a local college. And he had beautiful astronomy t-shirts, and he had long hair with a ponytail this long. And I said to him, don't let anybody cut your ponytail off. You know, wear it with pride, but it must be washed and it must be clean.
There you
and
go.
neat.
Love it. Did they try to talk you into wearing a dress, or they knew
Oh, no, nobody knew I would wear a dress. I got too much of a farmer tan and would just look just terrible. No, you're not going to get me in an evening gown. I did buy some new black pants I'm going to wear tonight.
Well, I thought you looked great.
Well, I want to let you know about the shirt award of the Emmys.
Yeah.
That was a Ralph Lauren shirt.
There
Okay,
you go.
fashion snobs. And that was a gift from my sister for Christmas.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Our very special guest via Skype is Julie Matthews from Nourishing Hope. We had a little technical difficulty with Skype for a moment, but we have her back. Hooray. And Julie, before we lost you, you were answering the question, can rice milk cause a problem because of its sugars? Somebody who's having issues with dental. So, and we lost you in mid-sentence. So
Okay. All right.
if you can recap for us.
Okay. So, to finish it up, I think that rice milk and any of the non-dairy milks can have quite a bit of sugar. So I think it is helpful to just know the sugar content, know if there's added sugar, maybe choose the unsweetened ones and sweeten it yourself. Rice has the added challenge that we use it so much, you can get a sensitivity if you eat anything too much. And also the new report on the arsenic levels in rice, that I kind of like to mix up my non-dairy milks. I like to make them from scratch as much as I can, but if that's too overwhelming, then you might consider the unsweetened, or mixing one box of sweetened with one box of unsweetened and taking it down a little bit. But it is rich in carbs to begin with, and then you add sugar on top. So I do think there's probably it's not. Yeah, I think that there's better ways to get your nutrition. If you need it for a meal or a recipe, that's one thing. But I do think that we do want to be careful. The sugar content can add up if we're not paying attention.
Absolutely. And I also wanted to mention, because we talked a little bit earlier about, I said that I am a regular attendee at some of your webinars and your seminars, and you mentioned that you have one coming up. There are times when you do free webinars, but you mentioned the club that you have that people can be a part of, where they're getting extra support and getting these specific webinars. And I was asking you when we got you back, is there a cost that's associated with that?
Yeah, so it's under $10 a month, and that, we provide extra things, or I provide extra things than I do on some of the free webinars. I have handouts. I usually have a list of the resources and the scientific references I used in that, as well as some helpful, action-oriented handouts and things like that. We have a regular session every month, and we have a secondary Q&A session, because I have people from, 90 different countries have engaged with Nourishing Hope. And so on the last call, I think we had 20 different countries represented. So I always do it at a time where it's recorded, and I have a secondary Q&A follow-up, so that if people can't attend live, they can still get their questions answered.
Yeah, and I have to say to anybody who's watching that Julie really is the queen of making it user-friendly. I feel like sometimes as a parent of a child on the autism spectrum, you get frustrated because something isn't user-friendly, but that's not the case with Julie. She gets it. So definitely have to say that. Now, we had another question here. It says, "Hi, Shannon. My question for you today is about my son, who at times goes off the deep end, loses brain cells, won't stop giggling, off the hook with silly, crazy words, drives us wild. Nothing works to get him over his crazy spell. We assume it's related to a bowel movement coming, or being tired, or has a diet problem. He's 10-year-old, mainstreamed, and 90% of the time has behavior we control. Seeking advice, does Jem ever have these huge mood changes?" I will just say, for my part of the question, yes, we used to have behavior that we would refer to as the drunken elf behavior. What we discovered working with our doctor was that it was yeast related, and I'm always talking about the never-ending battle with the yeast. But I think all children are different, but yes, we've been through the crazies. And if I give my child doesn't eat sugar, and we meter out his carbs very carefully, and he doesn't eat a lot of fruit. We really are very careful with fruit. It's a treat like other people would have a cookie. A piece of fruit is a treat for us. And if he has too much fruit, my child gets drunk. I don't know how else to describe it, and he just gets the sillies. So that's for my part of the question. But Julie, what would you like to add for this person's question?
Sure. So, on one hand, like you said, we don't know what's going on for this particular child, so they'll want to kind of consider these options and maybe read more and ask their doctor what they think and all of that. The first thing I think of also, two things I thought of. One is yeast. You're right. The yeast toxins, they can give you that drunken-like effect. And if you think of how you make beer, you take yeast and you brew the grains and you get you get alcohol. So there are some people that get symptoms when they have yeast. The other one I like to just consider is the possibility of salicylate sensitivity, because when I think of that sort of kind of wild, crazy behavior, sometimes there could be a food association. And so I would at least consider whether it could be associated with the fruits, not just the sugar in the fruit that could feed yeast, but the compounds called salicylates that can create hyperactivity and all sorts of other challenges. And so those are apples, berries, grapes, honey, almonds, raisins. So depending on what diet they're doing, what they're eating, those are some of the foods that for some kids can trigger aggressive behavior or silly hyperactive behavior, a variety of different things. So that's probably the other big one that comes to mind, where I can think of a food group that can often create some behavioral issues, and sometimes pretty significant.
And so, Julie, for this parent who's written in about this, if they want to pursue this further, is it something that you do consultations long distance for individual children, or would you ask them to go to their doctor and how would you proceed if this person were asking to be a client?
Yeah, well, again, I always recommend that they go to their doctor and get an official diagnosis and workup to make sure there's not something medical going on. Mm-hmm. And then if they want to look at the possibility of how foods are contributing, absolutely, I do consultations, and I can do them remotely as well, so they don't have to live in San Francisco. And we can look at the foods their child is eating, the types of symptoms their child has, and we can look more and try some diet. Sometimes diet is the best way to see if a food is having a reaction. You remove the food, you see if it goes away. You add the food, you see if it comes back. It's short. It's not too it's not too complicated. And sometimes just doing that, you can see some pretty profound things.
Amazing. Yeah, I can hear my mother saying, it's not rocket science. You take it out and it gets right. It's not rocket science. We had a follow-up to the question about the rice milk, and the person wrote, "Hi again, I meant to ask if the rice milk can cause yeast since it has the content in it to damage teeth. So do we ever see a yeast response from something like rice milk because it's high in carbs?"
Anything that's high in sugar and or high in carbs can contribute to yeast. So, I think it could be, I think if somebody were battling yeast, then these sweetened, non-dairy milks could be a component of that. Of course, depending on how much they have them in the diet and what other factors are. But I certainly think if I were, addressing yeast and trying to limit sugar, then that would be one of the foods I would definitely take into consideration.
Awesome. Julie, you're such a wealth of knowledge, and I wish we had so much more time, but we are out of time for today, but I hope we can have you back. I know you're going to be coming to the MedMaps conference, and maybe when that happens, if we have any possibility of getting you here in the studio, we would love to have you on the show.
Great. I would love that.
Okay. We'll look forward to that, and we'll keep our viewers posted about that. But as we say goodbye to you, I want to remind everybody they can find out so much more information by going to www.nourishinghope.com. And I also want to remind everybody to go to our Facebook site, click that link, and that will take you to the place where you can be hooked up to get the free newsletter from Nourishing Hope and from Julie. Julie, thank you so much for being with us, and have a wonderful week.
Thank you, Shannon. I appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye. And right now, we're going to take a break and go to this week's episode of The A Word. This is the amazing documentary being made at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders following a little boy, Jack Riley, as he begins his early intensive behavioral intervention. At this point, Jack Riley is about 8-9 months into therapy, and he's learning so much, but sometimes, as we always say, you take 2 steps forward, and occasionally there's a step back. So take a look. This is The A Word.
Independently tacting and joint attention is a big deal. The reason is that tacting is socially reinforced and doesn't have a tangible reinforcer.
Look, good talking.
Unlike manding, where the reward is getting what you're asking for. This is why Jack Riley has been requesting items. He's immediately reinforced. Tacting, on the other hand, is making an observation in your environment and then sharing with others what you experience. So the reward in tacting is the attention and social interaction. Kids with autism many times aren't naturally socially motivated in the way typically developing children are. Here, Jack Riley is simultaneously tacting with joint attention. Jack Riley looks at the TV, points, and labels the characters. Then he looks at Jessica to check that she is sharing the experience with them, and then looks back at the TV. A key identifying sign of autism is a child's lack of joint attention. They don't initiate having a joint experience, for example, pointing, or responding to other social cues like following a parent's gaze. The way we encourage tacting behaviors is by first practicing it in a contrived manner, like teaching labels, asking,
Well, what is it? Okay, thank you.
We teach them labels so they have words to communicate with. The hope is to fade the prompts until the language happens naturally and often.
The end.
That's the next Lion King. Circle of life.
The end. All right. It's over. Yeah.
Okay. It's all over. It's over, buddy.
You want to play? Do you want to play? Say yes. Yes. Good. Do you want to play? Yes. Okay, here. Do you want one fire truck or two? Two. Two. Okay, here you go. Fire trucks. Fire trucks, yeah. Hey, Jack Riley, one more minute, okay? Say okay. Okay. All right. All right, buddy. Come over here. Come sit down. Ow.
Jessica and Jack Riley are continuing to work on identifying categories since he knows so many labels now.
Hey, mister. That was good sitting, but you gotta face me, okay? Turn around. Turn around. Thanks. Do you want bubbles, phone, or fire truck? Whoa. Say I. Whoa. Okay. Toys. Hold on, buddy. I know. Hold on. Ready? Say, I'm ready. I'm ready. Okay. Give me a vehicle. Vehicle. Good job. What is it? Vehicle. Nice. Good job, kiddo. Right. Hold on. Hold on. Ready? Say, I'm ready. I'm ready. Okay. Give me animal. Good job. What is it? Animals. Good job. There you go. Here's another sticker for you. Give me toys. Toys. Nice job. What is it? Toys. Yeah, but what is it? Say toys. No, say toys. Toys. Good. What is it? Toys. There you go, mister. Nice job. Give me animal. Good job. What is it? Animals. Nice. All right. Last one. Give me, hey, look at me. Look at me. Good job. Give me food. Cat. Nice job. What is it? Animals. No, this one. What's this one? Animals. No. What is this? Food. Food! There we go! All right. Here you go. Buffalo. Yeah. There you go, mister. you want more Twinkle Twinkle Little Star? More?
Ow.
Do you want more?
Boy.
Say I.
I want boy.
Okay, we're gonna sing first. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes.
Knees. Toes.
What's next? Eyes and ears and mouth and nose, head.
Knees, toes,
Knees and
toes.
yay! That was very good. High fives. Oh, too slow. High five. Ah, too slow. There you go. Ah, yay! You did it. Good boy. Okay, I get to your peekaboo wild, okay? Okay, where's my peekaboo wild? Let me go get it for you. There you go. So silly. He's gotten so much better. He knows the words now, which is really, really cool. And it helps him with labeling his body parts too. So a lot of the body parts I think he learned from the song before we even started on them.
Knowing the song also prepares Jack Riley for preschool. By knowing the words and movements, he will be able to participate in social activities that his peers will be doing.
Okay, did you see there towards the end where when she gave him the phone because this is his reward, this is his paycheck, right? He did his work and he gets his paycheck. He gets a break with the phone. She hands him the phone and the music starts to play on the phone and he's very excited and he's jumping up and down. But there was another example that they showed in the beginning of that joint attention. He's looking at the phone and then he looked up at the therapist. He looked up at the therapist with this, I'm watching the thing and it's really exciting. And that is a golden moment because here he got his reinforcement. He got the paycheck from it. And the things are powerful for our kids on the spectrum, right? When you find the right thing that they want to work for, the right reinforcer, it's very reinforcing, right? But he took a voluntary break from this thing to look at her to say, I'm really excited. Are you excited for me too? Isn't this cool? And you know what? That's the beginning of great things to come. That moment right there. And we will see in the coming weeks that what's happening right now with Jack Riley is he is finding it so reinforcing to be with her and to be with other people that it's taking the place of the things. He's still excited about things. I mean, let's face it, we're all excited about things, right? But he is starting to be reinforced as much by people as he is by the things. Now, they started the video talking about that joint attention. I always make the little triangle because it's that moment when, and it really starts very early. Babies do this, right? Where we're looking at something, the baby's looking at something, and then we look at the baby, and the baby, because they're very reinforced by parents, look at us and we go, look at the giraffe. Isn't it cool? There's the giraffe. Oh, it's a giraffe, right? So there is a triangle of attention. I'm looking at the giraffe and I'm looking at the baby's looking at me, and the baby's looking at giraffe. Now, a lot of things come as a result of that joint attention. First of all, we instill some values in the child about how we feel about the giraffe, which informs them, if they're catching all this, it informs them about how they should feel about the giraffe. So when we're looking at the snarling dog and we go, it's a dog, and the child is watching us and looking at the dog, they start to associate, okay, the dog is something to be afraid of. It is the beginning of social conversation. It's the child noticing, okay, facial recognition, they're having an emotion. It really is the first kernel of perspective taking. It really is the basis for so much that happens later on in life. And for some of our kids on the autism spectrum, they just don't do it. They just don't do joint attention, and they don't learn the necessary things that they can from it. So we have to start somewhere. And they're starting with this 2-year-old. He's 2.5 at this point in the video series, but we can do this with somebody who's 49. We can go back to pick up that skill, because once we have that skill, then maybe the 49-year-old just needed that and they can catch up in a lot of other ways. Maybe there's more things along the way that they have to catch up with. Everybody's individual. But the joint attention part of it, really, really important. And you can work on this at home. I will tell you there's a great lesson, a great series of lessons for it in the skills program, but this is something that we all want to work on with our kids on a daily basis. It's when you start to be able to do this with your child and make it reinforcing for them, it's also lovely for a parent. When you start to look at things together and have a moment, it involves the eye contact, and if you don't have the eye contact yet, maybe you need to go back a step and work on the eye contact first and then go to the joint attention. You know, it's always that, where are we picking up the lesson? What's the earliest part? And maybe eye contact would be the earliest part. But wherever your child is, you can be working on eye contact and joint attention at the same time. Really pretty amazing. Also, we're looking at Jack Riley, where he is in terms of transitioning. And it's terrible to love, but I do, the moment where he's there and he's watching The Lion King and he's so into The Lion King, and then it's over. Right? And they turn off the television and he's just been there watching the movie, and instantly crocodile tears, you know, those tears that shoot directly out when the child is just so immediately affected. It's sort of like a freak of nature that they can do that they just go from one emotion to the other. My husband used to call my son mood swing boy. He'd go, wow, man, he just turned that on a dime. That's just amazing. And, you know, if you're watching a videotape of it and the child is not experiencing the moment, you can really appreciate that part of it. In the moment, though, when our child is heartbroken like that, it's hard for a parent. But we talked about this during last week's episode, too, that he is beginning to learn through these different circumstances that they're taking him through that it isn't the end of everything, but it feels that way to him. And we can appreciate this to some extent, can't we? Haven't you ever watched a really incredible movie or read a really incredible book, especially a book when you just got so into the characters, you just went into it and the book is over and you feel bereft for a period of time, like for a day you walk around and you're like, when is... I was not personally into the Twilight books, but I had friends who, you know, they got to the end and it was just, you know, they felt bereft and they said, oh, I just want to cry. I feel like I've lost a family. So we've all had, hopefully, the experience of being transported by something, and then when it's over, feeling that feeling. And we have enough experience in our lives to know that, okay, it's a feeling and we're not going to die from it, and we will revisit this, or they'll do a sequel, or you'll survive, right? He doesn't have that context to work from. So to him, The Lion King is over, and it's as if he will never have it again. He will never have that feeling again. And you know, what they're starting to do with him is show him that you can transition from something, have that feeling, move on to something else, and be okay. It's the fine art of allowing the emotions, allowing for some distraction, not trying to say, oh, get over it, but moving on, right? Nobody's there and saying, oh, Jack Riley, it's just a movie, right? Because that womp, right? You're having feelings. When you're upset about something and somebody says, oh, it's just not helpful, right? So it wouldn't be helpful to a 2-year-old either. But, you know, she says, do you want to play? And he, you know, okay, I'll play. And he goes over, you could still see the tear on his cheek, but he starts to play and he slowly transitions. Now, for some children, that may only take 10 times that they have to see the end of the movie and transition to playing, and they go, oh, okay, you know, I'll get to see the movie again. For other children, that may take 1,000 times, but it's a worthwhile exercise because once he gets it, it will be easier and easier for him, and he'll apply it to other lessons in life. So when he doesn't get into his first choice of college, but gets into his second choice of college, he won't go through 6 months of extreme depression. He'll understand there are other things. It's a great lesson for our kids to learn. And you saw that she got to play for a little while, and then the therapist said to him, okay, well, we're going to do this. She calls him over to the chair, and you see how excited he is to go to the chair. He doesn't do it right. He sits backwards on the chair, and she has to remind him to sit forward. But he is now used to this transition. I play for a little while, you call me over, and we have beautiful compliance. Why? Because he has a reasonable expectation of how things are going to go. Even though the lesson is going to be different every time, he knows I'm going to come over, I'm going to be with Jessica, we're going to have a good time, I'm going to do something that's not going to be horrible, and then she's going to give me something. I want to participate, so we have beautiful compliance. That is what it should look like. And if you're not having that reaction when you're asking your child to come to you, I would suggest you go back and stop and consider, am I making it reinforcing enough to come to me? Because if you have that piece of the puzzle, what you see is a child like Jack Riley who can't wait to do the lesson. She says to him, what do you want to work for? He's the phone. You know, he's no hesitation here. He wants to work for the phone. Great. She goes to start the lesson, and he's starting the lesson without her. She doesn't let him. She takes charge. She covers up the stimuli and asks him something else. Says, are you ready? And, you know, and he's doing whatever, and she says, say, I'm ready, right? Distraction. She didn't say no, not yet. She just covered it up and smiled at him and said, are you ready? Distraction, because she needs to be in control of when this lesson starts and when the reinforcement comes. It's great that he's so excited. It's great that he's jumping the gun, but she can't allow that to happen, right? Because it has to be clear. I asked you this question. You know how that is. Sometimes you sit down to answer somebody's question, but you didn't hear the question. It's not good, right? So she covers it up and asks him something else. Are you ready? Say, I'm ready. He does, and then she starts the question. But I love the little preference assessment she did there. Do you want to work for the phone, the book, or the toy? The phone. These are the kinds of things we always want to do. It morphs and changes as our child grows and gets older. But I know still to this day, if there's something that I want to ask my son to do that he's not going to be as excited about doing, or that's going to be difficult for him, and I want him to be able to get through it as quickly as he can and be working on fluency, I will say, hey, you know, we're going to do this, and I want you to do a really good job. So afterwards, do you want to do this or do you want to do that? I don't say to him, what are you working for anymore? But I want to make sure that he's got something at the end that makes it reinforcing. We see that once our kids get this, they want to work, they want to grow, they want to learn, they get excited about it. He's so thrilled that he looks at her and she looks at him and goes, yeah, it's wonderful. Those are the golden moments, truly, truly life-changing. And we'll see in the coming weeks how this really develops in Jack Riley. This is an amazing series. It's the A Word. I encourage you to check out all of their episodes on YouTube, on their very own YouTube channel. All right, we have to take a break, but when we come back, we are going to be joined by the wonderful and fabulous Areva Martina from the Special Needs Network. We're going to be talking with her about what the Special Needs Network does and some of the really, truly life-changing events that they have coming up. So stick with us. Currently in the United States, 1 in 88 children is affected by autism. 1 in 88 means something different when your child is the one. Recovery is possible. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, host of Autism Live, an online show about autism broadcast by CARD, the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I'm also the mother of a child with autism, my beautiful son, Jem. You know our old joke, guess what?
Chicken butt.
Chicken butt. So we're going to take the chickens. But things weren't always so easy. I remember when Jem was first diagnosed with autism. I used to lay awake at night in bed and pray for someone or something that could help us to get our child back. My prayers were answered by Dr. Doreen Grant-Pichet and the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. CARD treats autism and other related disorders using the principles of ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, which is the only scientifically proven effective treatment for autism. It is also recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics and the U.S. Surgeon General. About a year after we started treatment with CARD, we were able to see tremendous improvement, and we got our child back.
What grade are you in?
Second.
You are a smart cookie, huh? Do you like school?
Yeah.
Do you have any good friends?
Yeah, Oscar.
Oscar is your best friend?
Yeah.
And my child is just one of thousands to benefit from CARD ABA therapy. Across the nation and around the world, children are making amazing progress and being given the keys to unlock their full potential.
We are extremely grateful for the amazing job CARD has done in helping our daughter. Our daughter today, just in 4 months, I think is a totally different child than when she started with CARD. I kind of see it as, it seems like her brain in a way was asleep, and now that we've gotten so many services, we've seen her wake up.
Did you have some guesses?
Recovery is possible if you take the right steps, if you're willing to put in all the hard work. And 7.5 years, yeah, it's a lot of work. It's worth every little bit, and CARD's been there with us every step of the way.
I have 2 children with autism. I can't imagine a day without CARD or the therapists. They've been so instrumental in helping us with our kids and shaping their lives and helping us help them.
Thank you, Christina, Big Alex.
Thank you, Jackie and Mariana.
We've tried other things before ABA, but the most beneficial thing has been ABA services, and I'd be the first person to tell any newly diagnosed family that you have to contact an ABA provider, and if you're lucky enough to have CARD, you're very blessed.
Recovery from autism is absolutely a possibility. We've been recovering children for over 20 years. It's just a matter of identifying the child's medical needs, understanding the child's sensory issues, and then teaching the child all of the skills they need in order to function normally.
We know there's hope for autism. Autism is treatable and recovery from autism is possible. I told a small untruth. We're going to start with our stress tip before we are joined by Areva Martin. Because it is a Monday, and every Monday we try to take a couple of minutes to face the inevitable fact that we are going to experience stress in our lives, right? That goes for everybody. But especially when autism is in the picture, there is the great possibility, if not the inevitability, of having an even higher stress level. I loved, last week we were talking about autism research, and I was saying, one of the questions of the day was, what research in the field of autism really makes you angry? And I can remember finding out that they had spent a great deal of money on a study. My son was probably 3 years into autism. They'd spent a great deal of money on a study to see if autism parents experience more stress than typical parents. And I remember going, really? Really? We couldn't have just figured that out? That couldn't have been just we'll take that on faith. But it was pointed out to me that on the basis of that, there were more programs and more funding for parents dealing with stress. So I guess there's a reason for everything, but really? Isn't that just automatic? Isn't that a given? I think most of us who have experienced it would say, ooh, yeah, I'm thinking that's probably a reality. Do we really need to spend a lot of money on research for that? In any case, it is a reality. And so we always talk on Mondays about some of the things that we can do to help ourselves manage the stress. I don't think we're ever going to get rid of it entirely. That's an unrealistic expectation. But how can we manage it? Things that we can do when we feel it starting to bubble up. And a lot of times, the things that we do for ourselves are great crossover things to do for our children, things that we want to model for them, things that we want to instill in them so that they can manage their stress. Because we do know that anxiety goes hand in hand with autism, right? And for those of you who are watching who are on the spectrum that are teenagers and adults, I'm sure that you guys have reported in great numbers that stress and anxiety can be a part of it for you as well. So what can we do? Well, I want to focus today a little bit on how we do self-talk. This is a lesson that we teach our children as well, but when we are having stress and anxiety, it's a really good time to stop and ask, what is it that I'm saying to myself? And we've talked before on the show about those positive assumptive questions that we ask our brain, and our brain supercomputer that's going to answer questions saying yes. So if we're sitting and saying, I don't have enough time, 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 our brain is going to say, yes, that's absolutely true. You don't have enough time, right? And if we say to ourselves, how can I make myself be calm and peaceful? Supercomputer brain will start to give us some ideas. And I know that the whole idea of affirmations, it's, you know, this tutti frutti sort of idea, but the reality is that when we find a phrase that works for us, sort of like finding the reinforcer for a kid, finding the phrase that works for us, and it's a very personal thing, it can be a very soothing thing. Saying, I'm okay, can be a very simple thing. I'm okay. Everything is all right. I have done this before. I can do this again. I'm good at this. I am smart and I can figure this out. This is not something that I'm going to waste time feeling stressed about. Whatever the phrase is for you that helps to ratchet down the stress and get you back into action. We know that when serious stuff is happening that's very, very stressful, we tend to, if we're somebody who's not stuck in paralysis and we're in movement, the stress isn't happening in the moment because it kind of doesn't go with action. So finding the way that we can get to deal with the stress by what we're saying to ourselves, the self-talk, and arranging our thoughts in a way that are productive as opposed to counterproductive. And by the way, helping our child to find what is the phrase that they can say to themselves when they're feeling stress. Maybe, you know, it could be as simple as saying, I'm going to take a second to breathe. That can be great self-talk. So whatever's happening today that's stressful, ask yourself, what is the phrase that can help you to ratchet it down? And, you know, if you have to put that up on your refrigerator, put it on your bathroom mirror, put it on the visor of your car, put it on your phone and have it pop up once a day. But I encourage you to stop for a moment and think, what can I say to myself that would be productive? If you had a coach, what would the coach be saying in your ear in these stressful moments? And then transfer that to your child. Help them to find the phrase that they can say to themselves to get through those stressful moments. That's our stress tip for the week. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, the fabulous Areva Martin from the Special Needs Network. Stick with us.
Skills is an online program that provides assessment, curriculum, positive behavior support planning for challenging behavior, and progress tracking, and it does this all in one place. The Skills assessment and curriculum addresses 8 areas of development, which even includes advanced higher level areas such as executive functions and cognition, which pretty much makes Skills the only ABA-based set of curricula for teaching more complex skills, things like problem solving, planning, self-management, perspective taking, and even inferring and predicting others' private events. Skills is a 4-step system. Step 1 is to add the child to your account. Step 2 is to start assessment. The Skills assessment is the only ABA-based assessment with psychometric research demonstrating the language subscale to have excellent reliability. Every area of human functioning and typical child development from infancy to adolescence was researched, making the Skills assessment the most comprehensive of its kind in the world, and we're quite proud of that.
Skills is easy to use. Simply click Start Assessment and begin answering questions. Or simply type in a keyword, find specific activities to assess, and add activities to treatment. Step 3. Choose activities. Once you've completed the assessment, Skills selects from a pool of 4,000 activities categorized by age, level, and skill type to provide you with exactly those activities each child needs. Start by choosing a curriculum, then a lesson, and finally an activity. Click the information icon to view prerequisites, ages in which targets develop, examples, and IEP goals. Click the video icon to watch a short video. Once you've identified an activity you want to teach, adding activities to treatment is a snap. Step 4. Start treatment. Here you can access customizable activity lesson details, add your own customized targets and exemplars, and edit an activity status such as introducing or mastering it. You can even print handouts such as worksheets, tracking forms, visual aids, and other materials. Skills also offers multiple progress charts mapping curriculum progress, lesson progress, and cumulative number of activities and targets mastered over time. The Skills language curriculum is categorized by verbal behavior type so that users can identify progress for verbal operants, such as echoics, mans, tax, and interverbals.
Skills is one of the only programs that provides the ability to write behavior intervention plans, or BIPs, for challenging behavior.
With just a few clicks, the outline of the behavior intervention plan is written for you and ready to be printed and implemented.
You can learn more about Skills today and get started by visiting us at www.skillsforautism.com, or you can call us at 877-975-4559. Skills. Progress starts here.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Our very special guest right now, joining us via Skype, is Areva Martina. She is the president and co-founder of the Special Needs Network, an amazing advocate and mom. We're so thrilled to have you with us. Areva, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me back. It's always a pleasure to join you ladies.
Well, it is always a thrill to have you here. And I want to start by talking about what the Special Needs Network is and how it came about.
Yeah, Special Needs Network is a grassroots nonprofit organization that was started about 7 years ago. I started it with another mom. We wanted to address the issues of autism and related developmental disorders and behavioral disorders. And we really wanted to focus on those families that we saw were struggling, primarily in some of our lower income and underserved communities in LA County and really throughout the state. So the organization is involved in three major areas. One is policy, so we're very involved in, what happens at the state level in terms of laws that are passed that impact individuals with autism. We're involved in health and human services, so we are embarking upon building an autism and medical school-related health clinic. And then parents, we are really focused on helping to empower parents. So we do a great deal of work in parent advocacy training, parent mentoring, and getting our parents involved in this disability rights community. We have a parent advocacy council where we have active membership of over 50 parents, all of whom have graduated from our parent training program, PAM. So we're really about, empowering parents, creating opportunities for them to become leaders in the community and getting them engaged and involved in, what happens to their kids and what happens to their families.
Well, and you do a wonderful job at everything that you do too, which is really amazing. And I want to go back and talk a little bit more about PAM and what it is and how do you choose who is involved in this? Does a parent apply?
Yes, PAM is our Parent Advocacy Mentoring Program, a signature 25-hour intensive advocacy training program for both parents and professionals. We run PAM 3 times a year because it happens over the course of about 2.5 months. So we have a winter session, a spring session, we take a break for summer, and then we have a fall session taught by some of the top experts in the field of advocacy, disability rights, and medical intervention and services. So yes, parents apply and we go through the application process. We try to have a balanced class of parents, some who are at the beginning stages of advocacy, others who are mid-level, and some who are advanced, because the classes span topics from helping your child at an IEP all the way to organizing a grassroots advocacy campaign. So we're happy to report that we've graduated about 300 parents from this program. And when we started it, our goal was to have about 30 students per class. And the demand has gotten so great that for this last class that's in session now, this winter session, we had close to 200 applications for this class. So, the word is out. There are lots of health advocacy and, kind of grassroots advocacy training programs out there, but none that really focus on these issues that are so important to families who have kids with developmental disabilities. So the uniqueness of the program is not just how to be an advocate or a mentor, but, learning the nuts and bolts and substantive issues about developmental disabilities.
It's a wonderful program, and I imagine that some people get involved because they want to be the best possible advocate for their individual child, but then they can go on to help other families, correct?
Absolutely. So many parents come to us, many just looking for answers, you're correct, for their own children or own child. And once they, meet the other amazing, co-participants, they're usually motivated, inspired, and encouraged, and they want to do more. So many of these parents have navigated the systems for their own child, and they feel like they've learned a lot, but they want to polish their skills. They want to learn, the technical aspects of advocacy, and they want to help their community. They want to help their school districts. They want to go into their churches. They just want to go out there and help other moms. This autism community is very spirited,
yes,
very passionate, and parents usually, once they figure out something for their own child, they want to spread the good word.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Areva, if I'm a parent and I'm looking for an advocate, is there a way that I can find all these advocates that you've trained so that I can ask for help?
Absolutely. You can go to our website, www.specialneedsnetwork.org, and you can contact our office about our advocates. Now, I want to state, our advocates are not paid advocates, so we're not certifying individuals. I should correct that. Some of the folks who participate in our program are already, paid advocates. They have businesses where they advocate for families at IEPs and they charge a fee. If you contact our office, we're going to connect you with someone who will become a mentor advocate, and our stipulation is that they do not accept money under the auspices of the Special Needs Network program. If they have a separate business, that's completely fine. But we're not going to charge parents. We're going to help, provide a mentor to parents to kind of help them along the process.
Fabulous. And I know a lot of parents are looking for that kind of thing. Now, are these advocates are they mainly just in the state of California? Do you get people flying in now to be able to do this and take it back home?
That's a great question. When we started the class about 2 years ago, most folks were just from the local LA community. Now folks are coming from all over the state. We haven't had anyone flying in because the classes happen every other Saturday, and there are 4 hours on a Saturday. But what we have had is a tremendous demand outside the state for the program. And beginning in April of this year, we will go live with PAM online.
Nice.
So advocates all over the country will be able to participate in an online version of the PAM program that's offered here in Los Angeles County.
Areva, it's so smart what you're doing, and I find that with everything that you do is just so smart, and I attribute that to you because you're one smart cookie.
Oh, thank you.
It's absolutely wonderful. And so if a parent is out there and they want to start taking this training, best thing to do, go to your website, and is there a specific place that it says PAM?
Yes, if they go to our website and they look under programs, and they under that program button on the website, they'll be able to find the Signature PAM program. And it's best if they're interested to go now, because this session will end in April. We will take a break and then we'll start back in late summer. But the classes are starting to fill up really quickly. And also going to our website, they can sign up for our newsletter. So when the PAM online goes live in April, if they choose to, they can also participate in the online. Another feature we're going to add, which we're really excited about, is all of our graduates. Like I said, we have close to 300 here in LA County or in the state. We're going to create in April as well a private chat room for those graduates. So anyone that's participated in PAM will be able to log on with a private access code and just communicate with other graduates. And that's just a added benefit of having taken this course and completed it, is to have access to your peers over, like I said, now it's 300 and growing, to just stay abreast of, changes to the law, advocacy tips and strategies. We just want these parents, once they've been through the program, not to be out there alone. We want them to be a part of a community, and, they can't always attend meetings, but creating this online chat room for these graduates will allow the learning to continue.
It's so smart. And you've got a lot of other things that are coming up in the month of April, and I want to go through all of them, but I think we should take a break and come back more with Areva Martin talking about events and activities that are going on with the Special Needs Network in the month of April. So stick with us.
Every child with autism deserves a bright future.
Without further clarification, the Affordable Care Act could actually result in less benefits for individuals with autism spectrum disorders.
We urge Catherine Sebelius to clarify the Affordable Health Care Act.
She can make one change, one little minor change, to make applied behavioral analysis be part of the health care plan.
By signing this petition, you are protecting the health care benefits of individuals with autism spectrum disorders.
We need to make sure
that we are heard
and seen.
Sign the petition at autism-live.com.
Here's how you can show your infinite support. Create your own infinity ribbon. What you're gonna do is take a ribbon that's been cut about 8 inches long, and you're gonna grab one end and then twist it, and then take the two ends and join them together, and then tape it together. And then I'm gonna flip it around and take another piece of tape. And what I have is double-sided sticky tape. Squeeze down. You have your very own infinity ribbon. With ABA.
The possibilities are infinite.
With ABA,
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 the possibilities are infinite. With ABA,
The possibilities are infinite. Welcome back to Autism Live. Skype is not our friend today, and in the break we lost Areva. We're trying to get her back, but I want to talk about some of the different things that they have coming up in the month of April, and hopefully we'll be joined back with Areva to talk about these things, because it's really amazing. The level of stuff that they do at the Special Needs Network is remarkable. And of course, we all know that April is Autism Awareness Month, and it is a time when a great deal of attention is drawn to the field of autism. Although it's a 365-day for all of us, it is an opportunity for us to take advantage and put things in a limelight about autism, because the world looks at our community during that month. I know a lot of us go, but it should be all the time, but you can't have every day, right? We'll deal with it every day, but the world stage we can't have every day. In any case, this year, the Special Needs Network will be doing their 7th annual Tools for Transformation Conference. It will take place from April 12th to April 13th, and you can register for it now on their website, which is specialneedsnetwork.org. This entire conference, the subtitle is Facing Challenges to Affect Change and Maximize Opportunities. Isn't that the crux of everything? And so it is a 2-day conference, and I'm just going through some of the different things. They always have on the Friday morning, they have their legislative breakfast, which I'm told Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson has attended this event on a regular basis. It's when the show is live, so I have never been able to attend, but an amazing breakfast where parents and advocates and practitioners get to sit down with the people who make the laws. And you and I know, right, how important it is for our voice to be heard in that arena. Then they have an Advocates Summit, which is for nonprofit and community leaders. Truly amazing. Some of what she was just talking about with their PAM program, the Parent Advocacy Mentorship Program. And then, and I hope we get Areva back because I want to talk about this, they're doing a Bullying and School Violence Summit. Oh my heavens, don't we just need something like that? And I hope that Nancy will be able to attend and come back and fill us in with what happens there. And then there's a reception that's after that. And then on the Saturday, they have a plenary opening session and then a full day conference with 16 workshops. And then a Yes I Can Awards luncheon, followed by a celebrity book signing, and then their closing session with giveaways. And I understand that their giveaways are awesome. So a wonderful opportunity to learn and grow and network and be a part of affecting that change. Not the least of which is that Bullying and School Violence Summit. Boy, I mean, there's so many things here, and the workshops are amazing. Just to remind everybody, because we've had Areva before on the show, that one of the many things that the Special Needs Network does, besides servicing underprivileged and underserved communities, one of the things that when I say so smart, that the kinds of things that she does, they will offer counseling for families who have a child on the autism spectrum to help them, because so many of us had to change careers once our child was diagnosed because our career wasn't conducive towards taking care of our children. And I think that is one of the aspects of autism that doesn't get discussed often enough. We've had a dad before on the show who, for instance, was a paramedic, and it meant that he had to be away for such long periods of time because his shift would be, he might be on for 4 days for 12 hours because that's the way they do things in some communities. And it was a hardship on his family because 3 kids and his wife was home having to deal with all these different issues, and if he needed to go to a doctor's appointment that was in the middle of a 4-day shift where he was gone that amount of time, it wasn't conducive towards what was happening with his family. I was in the classroom and teaching, and it wasn't conducive. The hours that I needed to be home to be the project manager for autism coincided with the hours that you teach children. So I certainly went through a career change, and I know so many other people have gone through a career change, and I felt the frustration of that when I was doing it. Well, Areva and the Special Needs Network offer counseling and workshops for parents to help them to figure out, okay, well, so here's my skill set. What job do I want to transition to? How probable is it? Do I need to do some additional schooling to transition to that? How do I make this transition while I'm going through this with a child on the autism spectrum? Smart, right? It's something that we could all benefit from. So I do, and I don't know if we're not able to get her back, but if we do, we will cut it and go directly back to her. But I have to say, this is one of the reasons why, one of the many reasons why this organization is so amazing. I always want to say I want other organizations to look to what Areva is doing, and hopefully for this to spread, because very smart programs that she has. Again, I want to urge you to go to www.specialneedsnetwork.org. You'll be able to find all of the different things there. And of course, if you're interested in learning how to be an advocate for your child and potentially help other families along the way, and that is their PAM program, which stands for the Parent Advocacy Mentor Program, PAM, P-A-M. Again, if you're interested in going to that Tools for Transformation conference, 2 days happening April 12th through the 13th, you can register now. Registration is open. SpecialNeedsNetwork.org. We're going to take a break. Maybe we'll come back with Areva. If not, we have other stuff in store for you. Stick with us.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Welcome back. You're live on Autism Live, and I've got my friend Jennifer here. I'm so excited she's here to help me. She's got a son named Dylan. I got a son named Jeff. We got all sorts of allergy issues. And a lot of you say, what the heck can we do to eat breakfast that's not full of carbs?
And getting my son to eat vegetables.
Oh,
yeah.
This is a vegetable. So we're going to eat vegetables today. And so what we're making is a zucchini muffin. So let's go ahead and get started. So we just dumped in our zucchinis. You can start with less if you want to graduate your kid to actually eating healthy. We're going to do some eggs. And again, I use the organic cage-free eggs. So there's our eggs. I'm going to add in our oil. Again, I use a high heat oil, and the reason why I use a high heat oil, because when you bake, you want to make sure you're using an oil that doesn't disintegrate, because when oil gets too hot and it's not meant to get hot, it becomes toxic. So you got to be careful with your oils. So there goes our maple syrup, and again, organic maple syrup. What we're going to add next is cinnamon and our baking soda, baking powder to our mix. There's a lot of variations on flours. A lot of our kids are allergic to wheat, so there's a lot of things we can do to make this SCD, specific carbohydrate compliant, or just gluten-free, casein-free, soy-free. And flaxseed meal. Flaxseed meal is a great resource for extra fiber within the kids' diets. We're just going to turn on this fabulous wonderful KitchenAid. And we're good. It's a great, great looking batter. And what we're gonna do is talk a little bit about baking, where almost everything is aluminum, and aluminum can be a problem for some kids, especially kids that can't methylate and take the toxins out with their body. But if you've got, like me, I've got muffin tins, so I have the ability to just simply put in some cupcake holders, and that actually holds that together if I want to freeze it. Hey, nice work. Those look good, but wait till you see them when they're done.
All right.
So go ahead and pull them out. Here are the fabulous muffins. Now, if you've got a sensory kid that doesn't like vegetables, I can already ice by the zucchini. Remember what I told you earlier. Dissolve that simply by peeling off the green layer, and then it will cook literally translucent. Such a nice golden brown. I love how the texture is. We know that the breakfast can be a challenge. This makes that process a whole lot easier for you and your family. I really appreciate all the feedback. We definitely want to hear from you for our next segment. If you'd like us to cook something or maybe make an old favorite and that's allergy-free, we can do that here on Autism Live. So give us your feedback. You can email us at autismlive@gmail.com. We also have a Facebook page like everybody, facebook.com/autismlive. And also you can reach Taka on the Taka website at Taka Now. We'll see you again soon. Thanks for joining us on Autism Live.
We say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Hi, I'm Bryce Myler, and I'm the Contracts Director for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I've been here for about 5 years. CARD has several employees with many years of insurance experience, dealing with insurance, dealing with pre-authorizations, dealing with discovering whether there's coverage or not. So we have more experience than any ABA provider that I've ever come across. So for a prospective client, somebody that may be interested in, ABA therapy and what CARD has to offer, we have a special 800 number, and you call that number. They will talk to you about what we have to offer, how ABA works. He'll ask you for the front and back of your ID card, and then we check to see if you do or do not have coverage. If you have coverage for ABA therapy, we try to do whatever we can to set it up where we can bill for you and you don't have to fight with the insurance company every month to get your claims paid. For California residents, we recently did a series of insurance trainings all over the state, and you can click on the link below to watch pretty much the full presentation. It has a lot of information, how you can get your insurance company to comply with what they're supposed to do, understanding the networks, and many other valuable pieces of information.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We are looking at your answers to the question of the day. If you've been watching, we're still hoping, but we're having an issue with Skype, and that's neither here nor there. It's Skype. So hopefully, if not today, another day we'll have a chance to talk more with Areva Martin. But our question today was, what is the biggest problem your family is currently facing? Because all this week we're talking about problem solving. It's not as though we have an expectation that someday I know sometimes we like to lie to ourselves and go, I will reach the promised land. I will get to the place where we will not have any problems. And as somebody pointed out to me, since the beginning of time, when people got to the promised land, there was nothing there. There were no curtains hanging because there were no buildings, right? There was still stuff that had to be done. So we know we're always going to be facing difficulties. And it just becomes a thing of what is our MO for how do we face difficulties. So I know for sure that you're facing challenges right now, and we ask for you to share. I think it's a great thing to check in, because basically we look at these kinds of things and go, well, we need to get a show about this and help people to hook them up. Okay, so the first one, which cuts right to the heart of the matter, somebody wrote in how to pay for ABA. And I know that for different people, this issue is coming about for different reasons. There are some of you that don't have insurance reform either in the country or the state that you live in, and you are completely on your own paying for ABA. And I don't know anyone who can afford it. I don't know a single person who can afford to pay for it without some assistance and help. I don't. And so it is a huge, huge issue. I will tell you that you know, it's important that you weigh in, and if you're in a place that doesn't have funding for ABA, that you weigh in some way, whether it's one letter to a legislator, but that kind of thing adds up. And I would also tell you, don't discount and say, well, we just can't do it. That's very easy for me to say because when my child was diagnosed, lived in the great state of California, and I had to do a whole lot of work for it, and a whole lot of lobbying and advocacy for my individual child. But I knew that we had in place a system called the Regional Center that had paid for people's ABA and would pay for my child's ABA if I showed up continually and did X, Y, and Z. So I made sure I did X, Y, and Z. It wasn't easy for me, but I know how lucky I was and am. So if you don't have something like that, first thing I would do is consider asking in your local support group who is getting ABA and how are they paying for it. I know we were taught as children never to talk about the money thing. I'm sorry. We weren't taught how to deal with our kids with autism either. I say go for it. And especially if it's an online chat group thing where you may or may not ever see these people, you don't have to be embarrassed by it. And any autism parent who's getting ABA, I think will be thrilled to tell you the answer of how they're paying for it. And if it's that they are just, I will say once, when I asked somebody, how are you doing that? They said, I'm just incredibly lucky. I have in-laws who have a great deal of money. And they weren't apologetic about it, but they were like, here, you know, here's the honest truth. I just have these people and they're bankrolling this, and how lucky am I, right? One out of all the times that I've ever asked that question, most of the time it's, oh, I applied for this grant and got this grant, or, oh, you know, we went to this organization. You know, why try to reinvent the wheel? Ask the question, even if you feel embarrassed. And if there is nobody in your area that has ABA, it's because you're the person who's going to forge the way, and bless you. I can't imagine, but I've met a lot of you and you're amazing. I will tell you that you don't have to completely invent the wheel. We've talked about before in the show that there are many people who, whether it was 20 years ago because ABA wasn't in place, or it was last week because they live in a place in the world where ABA wasn't in place, that they got something like CARD e-learning, trained volunteers, and had them working with their individual child. We showed a video of Maddie last week that was the case for her parents. They went to their church and said, we need help. We've had people go to Lions clubs and Kiwanis clubs and, you know, Elks clubs, sororities and fraternities, and said, we need some help and support. Who would like to be able to help? And other people who just put ads in the paper and thoroughly screened people, right? Not only are you thoroughly screening people who are going to work with your child, and you're thoroughly training them, but you're also having a baby monitor that has video capabilities, so you're not leaving your child in the care of somebody that you don't have eyes on 100% of the time, right? Because our kids' safety paramount. But there's a way. There's a way. It's a lot of work. I would not be honest if I sat here and said to you, oh, I could have done that. I don't know that I could have. I'd like to think that I could have. I'm so glad I didn't have to. But I know that there have been parents out there who have done it, and I know that they're happy to help you sort your way out to making sure that your child gets ABA. You know, I've said it before on the show. I have a friend who says, show me the $sign that's over my child's head. If you show it to me and I can see it, then I'll believe it. But until then, this fight for me doesn't have to do with money. It's a lovely idealistic thing to say, but then how do you turn it into action? Well, there are ways. There are definitely ways in which you can get ABA, and there have been people who have had successful 40-hour-a-week programs without paying money. A lot of work, a lot of stress. Whew, yes, but there is a way, and I like to at least tell you that is out there. Somebody else who says, us too, how to pay for ABA, no coverage with our federal insurance, which is just makes me so angry. But we're moving in a direction, and hopefully, this is why we wear this ribbon, so that Catherine Sebelius will pay attention and take back the right. We see so many states are in a position where they're not sure whether they're going to cover it. I encourage you, wear the ribbon, sign the petition. We need to get this for everyone. Another person who says, same as above, limited or no coverage for ABA still. Somebody else who says eating. We just had Julie Matthews from Nourishing Hope. I hope you'll sign up for her newsletter, which is on our Facebook. Another person who says self-injurious behavior, like constantly punching himself on the leg. I would encourage you to find a BCBA in your area. You don't have to do a full ABA program to take care of behavior like that. You can have them come in and do a very targeted, for a very small amount of money. Another person says getting specialized medical treatment. My mother-in-law has been a blessing for the family. She has paid for part of the in-laws, they're wonderful. I have so much to thank her. So that's our big problem, budgeting our son's autism, regressive autism treatment. The funding, right? It really comes down to it with a lot of these different things. And we are going to be talking with somebody tomorrow who's going to give us some help about some funding sources that maybe we haven't tapped into. So that is tomorrow, first thing in the morning. And then we will have Making Room with Evelyn. Evelyn Gould will be here. Very excited about that. We're really out of time, and I'm sorry that we couldn't get Areva Martin back, but we'll see if we can catch up with her later on in the week. I want to remind all of you that we will be live tomorrow starting at 10 a.m. going till noon Pacific Standard Time, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, with some really exciting stuff. It's a great week. We're going to be talking about the Special Needs Network all week long and problem solving, because at the core, that's what we have to do, is solve problems as they crop up. Great being with you here today, and loved all of your questions. Until tomorrow, please give your kiddos a hug from me. Bye-bye for now.